All right. It's Monday, as I was telling Ant-Man, and I am like all over the place. But we're here today to talk sports. So once again, I thank my co-anchor in my sports department.
How you doing?
Ant-Man of CAPTON Entertainment. Appreciate you being here.
All right.
The last time we talked, we kind of led into this subject matter a little bit. Not fully. We talked about it a little bit. And the question is, should college athletes get paid?
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's the bottom line. And as we know, as of July 1, there was a temporary injunction in place by the NCAA to do just that. Let college athletes get paid for their name, image, and likeness. I think that's called the NIL.
Right.
And as it stands now, what pushed the NCAA to do that was California State Assembly passed a bill saying that students in their state could get paid for their likeness. Right. And LeBron had a little bit of an influence in that. He sat with the governor when he signed the bill. So students in California, as of, I believe, 2019, correct, were able to capitalize on their likeness. Now, some people will say that all of this started because of UConn's Shabazz Napier saying, we don't get enough to eat, just before the Final Four when they were playing Kentucky. And he said, listen, some nights I go to bed hungry. And people were outraged. Oh, athletes, how are they limited in what they eat? Mm-hmm. And I think after that, the ball just kept rolling.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, so I think that this is a case of the ball rolling down the hill and kind of like almost breaking the wall in half.
Right. Well, we got to look at it from the standpoint of these are still athletes and they are still out here risking their life, sometimes life. You're looking at football, you're looking at basketball, you don't see people die on the court or playing football. Or, or even hockey. These are dangerous sports. Baseball, dangerous sports. These guys, they young, but looking at income-wise, say if something did happen to them, what do they got to lead to their family? You know what I'm saying? They just started now. They could have been like the Kentucky guy that just died in a car accident that was aiming to make it to the NFL draft.
Right.
He just was aiming. He didn't get any money out of that situation. Maybe the NBA gave him some money just to be giving some money just for his family.
Right. Because they did recognize him.
Yeah, they recognized him at the draft. But, I mean, he really didn't make, in history, what can you do as a player in college? If you can't take care of your family while you playing college football, college basketball, college baseball, male or female, and your mom and your dad, your family still living in the hood or still living in poverty. So you got to find ways to compensate these athletes. They all Americans, they 5-star recruits. They've been playing their whole life. They had to put money into that. They good because for a reason. They good because money was invested into them to go into that sport. If that's their family or a family friend or an investor. Some of these guys get investors. Think about the Fab Five. You get what I'm saying? Some of the Fab Five players, Chris Webber, all them, it was allegedly they was getting money from a booster or they was getting money from a guy that was giving them money to help them get through college. But like Jalen Rose said, it was nice that he had to put on church socks to match his uniform just to keep that image going. He didn't have the regular socks. He had to put the church socks on. So he's like, allegedly, they supposed to have been getting all this money from this booster. Where was the money?
Where was the money?
Yeah.
But do you think, so are they considered amateurs still?
No,
at this point?
I think amateurs are more high school. High school sports, you're really considered amateur because that's public school. Okay. Once you get to college, you got majority of your colleges are private universities. You know, you got a lot that's owned by the state, but once you graduate to the state colleges, or you go from high school or state school to a high school, and most of these athletes are coming out of private high schools. They're not coming out of public high schools anymore. You know, the guys
that goes back to the thing of, we see you have talent, we put you in a private school to upgrade your academics, to boost your academics,
right?
And then it sort of gives you a leeway around, if you will, some of the NCAA rules, right?
Right. So as a high school amateur player, but I consider them amateurs.
Okay.
And middle school, high school. Once you get to college, you know, you're 18 or older. So by the legal standards of a male and a female, you are considered legal in the, you know, in the United States or around the world, most of around the world. You know, some countries, their students are legal at 16.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can go out and get a job. They can go work for their family. They can be the head of the household. They can make an income, which, I mean, you could do that in the United States too, but at the same time, you're still under your parents' roof. Not out there. You're 16.
The expectation is different.
Yeah. So, but in 16, you can go in China and these other countries, you can go out and get your own place at 16. Live on your own, start working at 16. That's what I'm saying. So it's different laws in different countries. So you bringing in a lot of international students to the United States that's used to being on their own or used to coming out and saying, well, I'm just living in my own place and I was making my own money. So why would I come over here to the United States and make no money?
Yeah.
I got to be a student athlete and can't make money.
Is this really about athletics or economics?
It's both. I think economics plays a big part because financially you have to make something. You got a stipend every month is not going to help a student athlete, period.
Yeah.
A stipend every month can be, you know, in just reality salaries, what people are making $2,000 to $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
In this economy, can you really survive? No. And some of these guys only make $500 a month in stipend. And it's the tier of players. If you are All-American, remember we were talking about this last time, you're an All-American 5-star recruit, your stipend might be a little higher because they gave you a little bit more money from financial aid or whatever. They might have gave you another little extra scholarship grant to give you a little bit more money just to entice you to come to that university. Now, you barely made it to get in, and you might not never play at the university.
Right.
Your stipend might be $500 a month, maybe $1,000. You know, you just getting they basically looking at you like, okay, we giving you a free ride for education.
But now, with that said, right, are we or are students really being prepared for the NBA or NFL if they only go for a year? You play college ball for a year and then you go into the draft.
Yeah, I mean, you're not being prepared, but you still giving value to that university. You still making millions of dollars for that university because most of the students that's coming to watch this player are these fans that's coming to watch this player is individual players on these teams. You know, from a college level, they're not coming to watch the last man on the bench.
Right.
They coming to watch the All-American. They coming to watch the 5-star recruit. They coming to watch the big name that was built up before he went to that college. So you got to pay him for his likeness. He's almost like bringing you millions of dollars in, just like he was an NFL player, NBA player. He's a star player. He's bringing in millions of dollars every year for your program. So if he stay 1 year to 2 years, 3 years, or even graduate 4 years, you gotta average that money up like what he's bringing in and give him a percentage of that money. Period.
Yeah, but what happens, and this is the question that started this whole thing about this show. So what happens if I'm not a 5-tier athlete, but I'm on the bench with this guy? Does this even the playing field? Or is that athlete who is that 5-star athlete going to make more money, even though I put my name, my likeness, my image out there for the university? How is that regulated, or can it be regulated?
Well, it really comes down to the individual players now. They giving you the rights to go out and get your agent and start marketing yourself to gain money. Now, if you could creative and you the last person on that bench and you go get creative and actually go out and find an agent that can help you make money, that's up to you. You know, that's on you as how good you are in marketing or what type of. And a lot of these guys are very creative because a lot of these guys are millennials. These are the ones that actually know how to use the computer, know how to go out here and get viral, you know, to go out here and start TikToks and IG pages and YouTube pages and get their name out there a little bit more and start bringing in these endorsements. These are the guys that's very smart. These young guys, well, women and men. Let me just say it like that. Women and men are very creative these days when it comes to college millennials.
Yeah.
So that's where they could benefit from the money that's out there in college athletes now.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. So it goes back to the thing of, are you a student or are you an athlete or are you a pro? And, you know, how do we take this? How do we perceive it? I mean, here you are, you're making money, but is your alliance really with the team? If Ant-Man is making let's say $7,000 to $10,000 a year, right? Based on what his likeness, his image, whatever else, and I got somebody making $10,000 to $15,000 a year. Are we really going to be a team? Do you think that the mentality of being a teammate is going to be there and representing this school? Because the other thing about it is too, now I'm showing up with something that's got my logo on it. Right. And doesn't necessarily represent Kentucky or LSU or South Carolina.
We talked about, you might have a Jordan uniform on, but have Adidas shoes on because you got to deal with Adidas.
Right.
Or you might have to get a special uniform just to match up, wear Adidas suit and have Nike shoes on. Like, I don't know what they're going to do about that. I don't think they're going to allow the players to wear what I was reading. I don't think they're going to. I think the school has that deal. And they're going to they're going to get the players a percentage of that deal.
Okay.
Overall. So I don't think they can individually go. They can go get a Nike, Adidas deal on their own, but they have to advertise that outside of playing on the court or playing on the football field.
It seems that's the way it's gonna go.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the questions they had in some of the material that I read.
Yeah.
That, you know, I come up, I've got on my own logo, but the team is wearing, like you said, Adidas or Nike. And, you know, I can't get around that.
Right.
You know, I might be able to be photographed in my stuff, you know, my brand, my hat with my brand on it, my logo, this, that, and the other. But I cannot necessarily veer away from what the team is wearing or using as part of the team identity.
So, I mean, just reality, you have to also look at the fact that these guys and these young ladies, the young men and young ladies are finding ways. They're going to be very creative on finding ways to make money. That's the first and foremost. Yeah. Now, they also got other opportunities. They don't have to go to college anymore for that 1 year. So if the universities do not come up with a plan where they can gain more money and gain more access to money, they will lose out on a lot of these top recruits, these 5-star recruits, which in general will start giving the guys that's coming in unrecruited, or the guys coming in 3-star, 2-star recruits more opportunity to make the team.
Yeah, I was going to say that probably opens the door a little bit wider for folks who may not have been considered before, right?
Yeah, they come in, start in positions that they didn't think they start in, and as long as the rules stay in place for football, the players still can't leave until after they're going into their junior year.
Okay.
So that's the thing with football. So, and football is the biggest money maker, unless you're the top tier, unless you one of the top tier, Kansas, Duke,
Carolina,
Dame, in basketball, because as you can see, the mid-level teams in basketball are not gaining ground on the top tier.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So you're not just getting the Dukes and Kansas winning every year in basketball.
Right. Right. So as we know from just this basketball season alone in the NCAA. Yeah. And
Butler.
This applies to all divisions, 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
So you may have a kid who is doing well in Division 3 who will become a moneymaker.
But the thing about it, this is one of the big things about the new rules that's put in place. Players can also transfer and immediately play in the next school. So they can transfer from North Carolina and go to, they say there was a 5-star recruit and they go to North Dakota State.
Right.
They immediately start playing in North Dakota State. Now, think about it. If they was popular in North Carolina when they got that 5-star recruit, they were popular around the United States. They go to North Dakota. They gonna definitely probably make more money than they would have made in North Carolina, because you got 50 other 5-star recruits in North Carolina.
Right.
And you got maybe 2 more that you're competing against in North Dakota State. So the ball field is going to play out evenly.
Yeah, the playing field is going to level out. It's going to level out.
Yep.
So what does this look like for the schools? I mean, do you think money is going to increase?
Of course.
Because now we've got, let's say, 2 Division I athletes. They've got their own gear. The school is not necessarily getting the money for that.
See, now, overall, the schools are now getting money. Now they utilize they put the money into a union almost. They allow agencies to come in and help support these players, right?
Yeah, they're not necessarily considered agents, right?
Right.
They're sort of like what do they call it? They're not a paraprofessional, but they're not, they're not somebody who's lower end, but they're also not necessarily considered agents.
Right. So now you also can bring in agents for the universities. Okay. So you can bring in reps. So now the NCAA don't really have a hold on the universities on how much money they can cap off or what they can make. So that's why the universities don't always make more money than the players, because the universities, now their hands are not tied. They don't have to have a cap. You only can make $50 million this year. The rest of the money have to be donated back to whatever. Or you take the money in, and then the money have to be spread out throughout all the departments,
all the programs,
all the programs, all the other universities, improving the building of the school, and you don't have to do that anymore. So now, because you bringing in agents that can help you put your money into the right places of the universities and grow your money. So now they can do the same thing with the players, and they can do the same thing with the team. So it's definitely going up. It's only going up.
So I guess the other thing in this to me is, and it goes back to the question that I really asked earlier. How do you keep an allegiance? How do you band these folks together as a team? Especially if I know I can go elsewhere and not be penalized by the NCAA.
Yeah. I mean, and that's where the university have to become creative. They want to keep their players there, and they want to make sure that their players are as a team. That's where they have to start giving incentives to everybody. Like you said, if they do a jersey deal, for example, if they got the Jordan deal with whatever deal they got with Jordan, they say, okay, instead of we taking the profit from Jordan, we giving you a percentage on every player on the team, a percentage of the jerseys.
Okay.
Right? Now, also they're giving them, if your jersey the one that's the hot, now they gonna be looking at the numbers of jerseys sold by a player. Like
Right.
if this All-American is selling 50,000 jerseys, he's get a percentage of that 50,000 jerseys. Now, this guy that's sitting way at if his numbers on a jersey, he sell a jersey, you got to give him a percentage of that. So it's gonna always be money equally spread it out throughout all the players
and made.
Yeah.
And made. So is this something you think started out from within? Like, did this come from the athletes?
Yes, yeah, it did. It came from Northwestern. I think Northwestern players filed a lawsuit against, if I'm not mistaken, I might be mistaken. This is me just talking.
Okay.
You know, I remember this was something that happened a while back. Northwestern, it was either Northwestern or Wisconsin. It was one of them type of teams, the Big Ten players. They actually went and filed a petition against the NCAA for their likeness. It was something in that world, and I think it was Northwestern. Now, I have to look it up, but I think it was Northwestern. They did, and it went from there. And it's been building up every year, and that was like 15 years ago.
Yeah, because there was it the Razorbacks?
Right.
Arkansas?
Mm-hmm.
There was something going on regarding race and athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody came to them and said, we can form sort of a union.
Right.
And they went ahead and did that with outside help. And consequently, they got rid of the coach.
Mm-hmm.
So people say this comes from the inside, within. But you can't help wonder if there have been outliers who come in and say, well, you know what? Maybe you should support getting paid for your likeness. Maybe you should start to talk to your teammates more and more about getting paid. Because for the outliers, there's something in it for them.
Right.
Right?
But so, now you got positives and negatives.
Right.
You got the negatives that you opening up the doors to a lot of scams and a lot of crazy stuff.
Right.
Because you bringing in agents that, that done got over. You got some good agents, you got bad agents. Same thing you got in life. You got good people, bad people in life. You're going to have good agents and good agencies, and you're going to have bad agents and bad agencies. That's going to cause a lot of uproar in these universities. That's the thing about it. You allow them to come into your university and solicit these players, and you get what I'm saying? And I think once they open up the doors, they're going to start soliciting other players that's already on the team to draw from other agencies or other agents or whatever they call them. They're going to be coming in. Like, for example, if I'm an agent and I got two players already on this team in North Carolina, University, NC State University or Duke, and I got two players on each team. When I walk into NC State, I'm trying to maximize my money. As an agent, I get a percentage of everything. So when I go in to meet with my two players, who else on the team got an agent? Who else? They might say, well, he signed to so-and-so, this company, this other guy. I used to steal his players when he was coming out anyway. So I'm going to go talk to his player. Hey, man, I'll give you an extra 500. You come with me. I give you an extra 1,000 a month if you come with me. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to go fire these other agents.
Right.
And they're going to go with the agent that said, I can make you more money. So it's a lot of stuff that hopefully they got nipped in the bud now. If they don't, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be real crazy.
Because I would think in some ways, again, you are messing with the team mentality, right?
Right.
Because now I'm not focused. I'm concerned about going with this dude because this guy's or this woman is going to get me X amount of dollars more than this guy.
Right.
So how much am I focusing really on being part of the team and playing the game?
Right. So you're walking in, you don't know what you're walking into when you're dealing with universities. As a player, as an agent, as a company. Because universities have always been about big business, big money.
Right.
Even back when they first started in the
TV rights,
yeah,
radio rights, and the
Armies, the Navies, the Notre Dames, the Carolinas, the Dukes.
Well before ESPN.
Yeah, the UConns, the Georgetowns, these universities.
I mean, you can take, for example, how messy things became with the Big East.
Right,
right. Big East was a huge conference, and everybody watched it. I don't care where you lived on the East Coast, everybody watched Big East games.
And you had
powerhouses.
You had the best matchups. Right. Besides the ACC, the Big East was top. Because remember, the Big East was in the Big East when it first started.
Right.
When they first started, they was like, okay, then they formed the Big East. Once they formed the Big East, now you had these different universities that played in the same region, same areas, like the Rutgers, the St. Joe's, the UConns, the Georgetowns, St. Joe's. They was all there together. So they was like, all right, you know what? Now we can make this a network. It was a big network. Put these players, the Patrick Ewings against the other All-Americans, that was, playing on these other teams, Georgetown playing against
Boston College.
Not Rex Chapman, Chris Mullin. Chris Mullin played with St. John's. St. John's against UConn. St. John's, Chris Mullin against Patrick Ewing, Georgetown.
Right.
So these guys was already matched up. It was big money back then. So now it's time to pay these young men coming in now, young men and women. Like even the UConns, UConn won 20-some championships back to back. Yeah. Right? The women UConn basketball team. I guarantee you, how you not make money leaving college and going into the pros, and you still wasn't making money because the women are not getting paid what the men are getting in the NBA.
Yeah, and that's another show.
That's another show. Like these women out here still putting in the same hours of working out, getting right. They might not be able to dunk. Some know how to dunk now. You can't.
Yeah, well, Lisa Leslie ended that. So.
Yeah, so you can't say, oh, well, they can't. They not athletic. Oh, yes, they are. You got some of the women out here dunking. You got some of the women out here shooting as good as the Steph Currys and.
Listen, I support UConn women more than I do the men. That's honest.
That's what I'm saying. And
because
that's what they're doing now.
I like seeing them play.
The fans are doing the same thing. The women, the UConn men and women, the Carolina, NC State men and women. I guarantee you, it was more people going to see the women play NC State this year. Yeah, because they ranked number 4 this year, number 3 this past year.
Let me take the break. We'll come back.
All right.
This is The Collective on WSME Enlightenment Radio. Positivity is everything. Talking sports with the Ant-Man. Be right back. We're back on The Collective on WSME Enlightenment Radio. We're talking sports. And the question is, should college athletes be paid? And before we went to the break, we were talking about how the Big East came together, broke apart, and now we back to the Big East.
Yeah.
And the fact that women athletes really, if you think about this, may be the real beneficiaries of this image, likeness, name type of ruling, because for so long women's athletics and the athletic facilities were woefully underfunded.
Right.
Like women's gyms and the places that they worked out were nowhere near as up to date, as kept up, and even equal to what the men were getting.
Right.
Even think about just this past Final Four, the women's facilities as opposed to the men's facilities.
Right.
Men were working out in these gorgeous, state-of-the-art facilities. The women come in, they don't even have mats to work out on, to do any floor exercises, just to work out. the gyms, part of the rims were missing.
Right.
And they were like, are you kidding me? And filmed it. Had they not filmed it, probably nothing would have been done.
Right. So I think everybody, like I said, this is going to benefit men and women a lot. And like you said, we definitely want to support women athletes because they are putting in a lot of time and they're not getting paid.
Right.
At the same time that us as men, I'm a male, and I still want to support the women athletes because they are putting in as much time as any male going to that gym. They might even be putting in more time to be
more time.
Because, like you said, they got to become better shooters because, like you said, they looking at it from the standpoint of the women game is spread out now, but also they shooting. Like, you got more shooters. You got more shooters, but the plays are more spread out. Same thing with men. The men right now, they went to what the women have always been doing, spread out the game. Spread it out.
Well, yeah, and I think for the most part, the women, because they play in Europe, a lot of them bring that model back to the United States. Right. And so their game looks a lot different from the men's game. And I think it has that influence. So I think women will probably benefit a lot better from this law or temporary injunction
and better
than the men.
And that's what I'm saying. This temporary injunction might get overturned in a year.
Yeah.
It's temporary.
Yeah.
You know, it was passed through the Supreme Court. I think it was Supreme Court that they did it as a temporary injunction. So what you think the NCAA is doing right now? They're putting together the plan to go back to fight against it.
Right. Because they've never been in favor of this.
No.
They've never been in favor of it.
No, NCAA is not in favor of giving you a chance to go be on the internet to make $10 extra than what you're already making. NCAA do not care about no one when it comes to the NCAA. They don't care. Athlete don't matter. They looking at, we are giving you the govern. And who really put NCAA in charge of the governing body of college sports? Like NCAA, if you really look at it, like, okay, what is the NCAA? Who is the NCAA? You don't really have commissioners for in sports anyway. You got the presidents of the ACC, the president of the SEC. These are presidents. You appoint these guys to be president, but they're still not part of the NCAA. I mean, the NCAA.
But I think, as we all know, you had to have a way to so-called even the playing field by everybody supposedly playing by the same rules across the country in college. But I think what we see with the NCAA right now is possibly a body that's trying to survive. Because if the athletes get this, there are more things coming down the pike as far as really, truly looking at the NCAA's ruling status. Are they going to have the same type of governance? Can they govern the same way once these rules go in place? Or is this just like, what's the game where you pull one brick out at a time and eventually the whole thing falls? I'm wondering if this is the type of thing that's going to happen with the NCAA, primarily because once this ball starts rolling and people start to adjust and they start to see how much money is being made, the governance of colleges and college sports and how it's played is going to change.
Yeah, but like you said, NCAA right now is putting together their lawsuit to go back in and regain control. I promise you that. So this injunction or this law not a law, this temporary injunction may only last for 5 years, might last for 1 year. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't. And I didn't see anything that said when they were going to go back and review it. I may have missed it.
I might have missed it too, but if I'm the NCAA, I want to get back in control.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So if I'm not in control, like you said, we don't have the governing body anymore. Like I said, it's going to be free fall for everybody. Once this agent, you allow the agents into the building, that's the negative. Once you allow the agents in the buildings, they're going to be stealing over here. They're going to go over here and talk to this person and shouldn't be talking to this athlete because this athlete to this agency, whatever they got going on. So that's the issue. That's going to be the major issue. Who are you talking to? Why are you talking to my client? It's going to be injunctions put out. Why are you talking to my client? Why are you giving my client money? He's already signed to this agency.
Right.
So he's already making this type of money. So now you're suing this person, that person suing this person. And that's a headache for a college student.
It's messy. And, you have to also ask the question, what happens to the things like the booster clubs? Because now technically, I don't really need a booster club anymore.
No, these guys can just give you the money out right now.
Right.
If what's his name? If Jimmy Johnson, Jerry Jones, somebody want to just, and I play in the University of Houston or University of Dallas or whatever one of these universities, and they come to me and say, "Hey, you're a 5-star recruit. We want to give you and your family $100,000." They can just give it out right now.
Right.
Like, here you go. Here's your $100,000, and continue playing for us here in Dallas, or we looking out for you. That's it. What can you do? The NCAA can't step in and say, "You gave Johnny over here $100,000." Well, Johnny is a 5-star recruit, and we want Johnny to come to the school.
Right.
We want Johnny to stay in the school for maybe more than 1 or 2 years. So we want to take care and make sure that he's happy.
Right.
Before he jumps off and goes to the NBA.
And goes to the NBA or the NFL or Major League Baseball.
Or WNBA, or, the women that go to the WNBA.
Yep.
Or professional tennis players or professional golf players. I want to make sure that they're good now. Hockey players, even some of the hockey players. Really, I think they should now is just eliminate that one. And I think they should actually go back to allowing these players to jump straight from high school, certain sports.
I think we're seeing that. It's always been that in Major League Baseball. And now, even though they're talking more and more about the D League in the NBA, I think we're going to start to see more kids go straight from high school into the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
D League or not, G League or not.
Because you got to
think we're going to have people, I've been watching a lot of Kobe Bryant stuff lately.
Right.
And Kobe went straight from.
Yeah, Kevin Garnett. I'm not Kevin Garnett. Yeah, Kevin Garnett came straight from high school.
Yep.
Yeah, Kevin Garnett. Jermaine O'Neal, all them guys.
All those guys. So I think we're going to see more of that in the future, which also,
LeBron James.
Right, LeBron especially. Yeah, and I think you're going to see, the NCAA is going to be affected by that. College teams are going to be affected by that.
Right.
Because now I'm not even thinking about going to college.
No.
Because it's not It's not the stepping stone anymore.
Yeah, it's so much. If you're a 5-star recruit in basketball, maybe not football yet, but I see the future of football. These guys are getting bigger and stronger. That was the mentality. They're not as big or they're not strong as the NFL players, which they're getting close.
Yeah, it's changing.
Kids are getting close. They're getting close. Some of these guys coming out with men body coming right out of high school.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're gonna do something similar to that, where they maybe lower the rule of you can leave after 1 year now. You can leave instead of play 2 years, you only can play 1 year. There's so much money in football that's the issue. They don't want to give up that money. They want these superstars to stay on these football teams for at least 2 years because they can maximize the money.
Yeah. And I would hope that folks do consider staying in college, if not for the education, the development, to develop themselves as athletes and really give themselves the opportunity, to kind of play and study the game a little bit more. Because let's face it, you have a lot of people who come out and want to get in the NBA, but they only know one way to play the game.
Right.
College gives you the opportunity to really learn the different sports And
that depends on what coach you got or what type of system.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these systems are adapted and adopted going towards the college systems are the same as some of the high school systems now. So you going in doing the same thing that you were doing in high school into college. Now when you get to the pros, because you had these same two systems, you go into the pros now when you got to learn 50,000.
Right.
I hate to bring it up with Ben Simmons, but Ben Simmons went from playing in Australia to going to University of LSU University for 1 year.
Yep.
And then he jumped right into the NBA. Now, me personally, I think he's a superstar. But the one thing that he's lacking in his superstar game is a shot.
But don't you think he would have? Don't you think had he stayed in college,
he would have learned it?
He would have learned it, and that's my point. You know, I think sometimes that people get it in their minds that it's this, as opposed to saying, okay, now I'm here. What can I learn? What is it that I need to improve on? And sometimes you'll get that in your athletic trainers, your ADs, your athletic directors will say, okay, look, you're in a position where you're going to be pushing up against guys who are almost 200 pounds. Right. You're 150. You have got to step it up. You got to get more training in. You got to decide where your vertical is. You've got to decide where it is you need your improvement. Do you need it in the vertical? Do you need it in your footwork? Do you need it in your shot? And you're not going to get that in 1 year.
But now why they
get it in 1 year?
You're going to probably get that type of body. No, you're going to get that type of body because these guys are now getting paid. They can spend extra money on paying for trainers outside of the college trainers.
And that was going to be my point. Yeah. That's another way that you can capitalize off of your name, image, and likeness.
Yeah. So like even the high school, the football players coming out of going into college with that 1 to 2 year mark, once they get to that 1 year mark, they might be NFL ready.
Right.
So they're going to also be having these NFL trainers getting them ready for the NFL. You know, that's freshman year going into that sophomore year. And a lot of these guys are not even freshmen. A lot of these guys are getting the same credits. Let's remember, education is another big part of this whole system. They are allowing these student athletes to come in already sophomores, juniors. So if I'm already a sophomore, junior in the books, and I can just leave school and only play 1 year, and I'm 2 years in, you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
I'm 2 years in. I can come in. I'm already have my associate's degree. I played 1 year, the 2 years. I can still get my degree and eliminate them other 2 years of eligibility.
Yeah, because I'm all for being educated.
Right.
I'm all for that. But I know, like you said, for some of these young men and women, it's about getting paid.
Right.
Because they're coming from impoverished situations.
Right.
And they know that this ability will give them that opportunity to get themselves, get their families out of poverty. And so
from the setup of, they also come from setup on having people support them. They come from investors. They come with people coming to help them, you know, boosters, people helping them out, helping their family out. Then they get to college and they say, oh, and you can't, this person can't give you no more money.
Right.
Wait a minute. He's been taking care of my family for the whole 2 years. This is my boost. This is the guy that I'm putting in power once I make it to the NFL, NBA. He's going to be my business manager, my agent, or he's bringing in his agent so he can get his money back. And he get his money back. So you telling me this investor can't give me any more money and he's been investing in me my whole career. That's the issue. That's where it's going to be tricky. That's
where you think it's going to get messy.
It's going to get messy. Because you're allowing the boosters, you're allowing the boosters to come back in, you're allowing agents to come in, you're allowing agencies to come in, you governing bodies to come in to govern certain students. Certain students, like you said, are going to have more than other students when it comes to money. If I'm a top tier student and I'm getting paid $1 million to be at that university, I'm driving Jaguars, I'm driving whatever,
right,
convertibles, Lamborghinis, and you driving a Honda Accord, and we're on the same school.
We got a problem. Because there's no equity.
There's no equity for me.
You know, that I think that's going to be one of the real issues, as we said before. Now you got to figure out the equity in it.
Yep.
Right.
What are you going to do to benefit the last guy at the bench, on the bench? What are you going to do for him? You got to make his family. You got to still help him and his family. Like, you can't get this guy $1 million over here and then give us $10,000 for that year. I'm only made $10,000 off my likeness. Nah, I can't do that. Can't do it.
Right. Well, I'm sure this will come down to, again, the NCAA being a governing body, right, and possibly capping what folks can make, what can be contributed, et cetera, et cetera. Because I still haven't seen anything about that either.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's eventually. That's probably something that's going to happen as they pull the injunctions and keep doing the injunctions. They'll start allowing them, like, okay, you can govern, because this first year was a mess. Because I'm telling you, this first year, when they allow these fans back in the building after this year, well, this year they're allowing the fans back in the building, and they put merchandise on sale.
Yep.
Merchandise sales going to go up. Attendance going to go up. Concessions going to go up. Endorsements going to go up. Agents going to start walking into the building. Now you're going to see the mess that they come up with for the whole year. Once you see that, now these organizations going to come out and say, NCAA going to come out and say, wait a minute, we need to look at this again.
Yeah.
We need to go to the courts and get an injunction on, like, how much these caps can be, what these people can get, what they cannot get, and that's what's going to be. Are they doing profit sharing? Which I think they should do profit sharing anyway. Just like the
that
NFL.
Makes sense.
Profit sharing. If I make $1 million, you got to divide that $1 million up. Even though you probably get the bigger percentage of it,
right?
But you also got to help the players on the other team, on a part of the team, or even division sharing. They might be like a division area to share money.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. There are, I believe, 7 states that have already enacted student athletes getting their likeness. So you have to wonder too, and we're going to wrap it here.
Okay.
But we got to wonder too, if in fact the states get a cut of this. How do the states benefit?
If it's a state school, you know they get a cut. And every state has a state school. So the university that you like, I know Carolina got state schools.
Right.
Connecticut, UConn is a state school. That's not a private school.
University of Alabama.
University of Alabama, state. That's a state school.
Indiana State.
Alabama State school. The private schools actually might not really benefit as much as the public schools. Because the public schools, University of Kansas, that's Kansas University. That's Kansas. That's the state of Kansas. Kansas State. Yep. Those 2 are your top universities, and they state universities. So you know the state is going to come in and get money. That's why they regulated it quick.
And they'll work in conjunction with the NCAA.
Yep. And the athletes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's been just about an hour.
Okay.
Thank you so much once again for coming in, having this show. I guess our next show will be on how this benefits women's sports.
Right.
And what that's going to look like.
Right.
Over the next few months. Ant-Man, once again, thank you so much. Appreciate your time and energy.
You're welcome.
And I'll see you soon.
Okay.
All right. This has been The Collective, talking sports with Ant-Man, right here on WSME Enlightenment Radio.